You're watching Forsaken Joe. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy the story. Let's begin. It was around midnight when I walked through the door, the weight of another long day dragging me down. I'd been at work for over 12 hours, handling clients, running the business, solving problems. The usual grind, but tonight, it felt different. Something was off. I heard laughter from upstairs as I hung my coat by the door, the sound of it too light, too carefree. My heart picked up speed, but I brushed it off. Maybe Jessica was just watching TV with friends, maybe laughing at some stupid comedy show. I wasn't in the mood for it, but I didn't think much of it as I made my way upstairs. Then I saw him, Marcus, my best friend, sitting too close to Jessica on the edge of our bed, both of them talking too softly, the air too thick. My chest tightened as I stood frozen at the doorway, staring at them. It didn't take long for Jessica to realize I was there. She glanced up at me, but instead of standing up or moving, she just let out a soft chuckle, as if this was all normal. "Nick, you're home late," she said, voice airy, like it was nothing out of the ordinary. She barely looked at me, almost as if she didn't care. Marcus, on the other hand, didn't even seem fazed. He didn't even glance my way. He just kept talking, like I wasn't standing right there. The nerve. I took a few steps forward, trying to make sense of what was happening. What the hell is going on here? My voice was low, shaking slightly with disbelief. Jessica's eyes rolled. "Oh, stop overreacting, Nick. It's not what you think." She scooted back a little, trying to act casual, but there was an edge to her words. Marcus was just keeping me company. My pulse started to hammer in my chest. This wasn't just company. This was Marcus, my best friend, sitting on my bed, far too comfortable, far too familiar. It wasn't just some innocent visit, not with the way he was sitting, not with the way Jessica was looking at him. "Keeping you company?" My voice was louder this time, harder. "You mean like this?" I gestured to the space between them, my hand trembling. "Like, this is okay?" Jessica gave me a dismissive look, almost a bored one, and shrugged. "You're making a big deal out of nothing, Nick. It's not cheating." Cheating. That word hit me like a slap in the face. My vision blurred with rage. "Not cheating? What the hell do you call this?" I stepped into the room, fists clenched, my mind spinning. "You and Marcus, this is nothing to you? This is how it's going to go down?" Marcus finally looked up, meeting my gaze for the first time. He didn't even flinch. "You're overreacting, man," he said casually. "It's not like that." I couldn't take it anymore. My hand shot out before I even realized what I was doing. I grabbed Marcus by the throat, pushing him back against the headboard. His eyes widened, but he didn't struggle. He just stared at me with that stupid calm expression on his face. "Nick, stop!" Jessica's voice broke through the haze of my fury, but I couldn't hear her, couldn't care. All I could focus on was the feeling of Marcus's neck in my grip. For a second, I wanted to squeeze until everything inside me burned away, until the rage took over. But then I let go, stepping back, leaving Marcus to cough and sputter, clutching his throat. "God damn it, Nick," Marcus said, still gasping for air. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Jessica was on her feet now, moving between us. She stood in front of Marcus, blocking him from my view. "That's enough, okay?" she snapped, her voice cold. "You're acting crazy. This isn't cheating. This is just us talking. You need to chill." I shook my head, barely able to comprehend what was happening. "Talking? You call this talking?" I looked at her then, really looked at her for the first time. I saw the deflection in her eyes, the way she was trying to avoid the truth, the way she'd turned on me, like I wasn't even a part of her life anymore. My fists clenched again, but I wasn't sure if I could take any more of this. I didn't know if I could take her dismissing me, her defending Marcus. It felt like my world was cracking open. "You're telling me this isn't cheating?" My voice was strained, each word a struggle. "You're telling me this isn't the end?" She looked at me, her gaze finally softening, but her words were sharp. "I'm not leaving you, Nick. I'm not. But if you're going to act like this, then we're done. If you're going to make this a big thing, we're done." I stared at her, the words running through my mind. "If you leave with him, then don't come back," I said, barely a whisper. But it felt like the final thread snapping. "You leave with him, Jessica, and I'm done. I won't take you back. Not after this." Her face hardened at the words, but there was something behind her eyes. Guilt? Regret? I wasn't sure. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Instead, she turned away, walking toward the door. I could see her shoulders tense, the words already on her lips, but she didn't say them. Instead, she walked past me, her hand brushing mine as she went. And with that, I knew this wasn't just a fight anymore. It wasn't just a moment. This was the beginning of something irreversible, something that would change everything between us, something that couldn't be fixed. The door slammed behind her, and Marcus was left in the room with me, his face still red from where I'd grabbed him. Neither of us said anything. We both just stood there, waiting for something. But nothing would be the same. Nothing would ever be the same again. After the confrontation, I stood in the empty house, the silence settling around me like a heavy fog. The adrenaline was wearing off, but the sting of betrayal hadn't dulled at all. I felt hollow. The bed, once shared with Jessica, now felt like a foreign object. Every corner of the house felt contaminated by her lies. I walked to the living room, feeling as if the walls themselves were closing in. It was too quiet, too still. I needed something, anything to break the tension. But all I could do was pull out my phone, my hands trembling as I scrolled through her recent messages. My eyes flicked over the texts, the casual banter, the sweet nothings exchanged between her and Marcus, a side of her I hadn't seen until now. My gut twisted, the realization hitting me like a truck. This wasn't some slip-up. This was planned. This was deliberate. I kept scrolling, looking for anything that could explain how she'd managed to lie to me for so long. And then I found it. A series of emails, dozens of them, between Jessica and Marcus. They weren't just casual exchanges. No, these were full-blown conversations, some of which were written while she and I were supposedly working through things. The emails were laced with affection, jokes about me, plans to meet up, comments about how they were perfect for each other. The air in my lungs seemed to freeze. I couldn't breathe. The weight of what I was reading, what I had missed, crushed me. All the times I'd been blind to the obvious signs. All the times I had trusted her, believed her when she said it wasn't like that. My heart pounded in my chest, a sickening mixture of anger, sadness, and betrayal that made my vision blur. This wasn't just a mistake. This was calculated. I put the phone down for a moment, rubbing my face with both hands, trying to clear my head. But nothing was clear. There was no clearing the air after this. Not for me. I needed to do something. I needed to take control. I couldn't just sit in this house stewing in the mess she'd left behind. I walked to the study and sat at the desk, the weight of the decision weighing heavily on me. The house felt suffocating, the air stale, thick with tension. I pulled my phone back out and scrolled through my contacts until I found her name, Erica, the lawyer I had briefly spoken to about legal matters a few months ago. She was sharp, professional, and, most importantly, impartial. I needed someone who could help me navigate the mess Jessica had created. I tapped the number, my finger hovering over the screen for a moment before pressing dial. It rang 3 times before she picked up. "Erica," I said, my voice flat but steady. "I need your help." There was a brief pause, then her voice, calm and authoritative, spoke back. "Of course, Nick. What's going on?" I exhaled, feeling the weight of the words before I even said them. "I'm going to file for divorce." The words felt final, the reality settling in like ice running through my veins. But in that moment, something shifted inside me. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was taking control. "Okay, we can start immediately. Do you have any documentation, evidence?" I didn't answer right away. For a few seconds I sat there, staring at the photos and texts on my phone. I could still hear Jessica's voice, her excuses, her lies. The sounds of her laughing with Marcus echoed in my mind, but none of that mattered anymore. I had evidence, proof, and it was time to use it. "I have everything I need," I said, more resolute than I'd felt in weeks. "I'll send it over to you tonight." Erica was quiet for a moment, as if processing what I'd said. "Okay, Nick, I'll start drawing up the paperwork. You don't have to do this alone." I hung up a few minutes later, my heart still hammering in my chest, but my mind clearer than it had been all night. I wasn't going to be passive anymore. I wasn't going to sit by and let her destroy everything we built. This wasn't just about ending my marriage. It was about reclaiming my dignity, about taking back control of my life. I sat in silence for a while, looking at the phone in my hand. There was no going back now, but as the weight of the decision settled in, a strange sense of calm washed over me. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was doing the right thing. I was done reacting to her, done being the fool. This was my life, and now I was going to fight for it. The following morning, I woke up alone. The house felt hollow, empty, like a shell that had been abandoned. I could still feel the weight of last night pressing against my chest, suffocating me. The anger was still there, bubbling under the surface, but now it was replaced by a deep ache, a kind of sorrow I wasn't sure how to handle. I had no idea what to expect when Jessica came back. Would she apologize? Would she try to explain herself? Or would she continue acting like nothing happened? When she finally walked through the door, I couldn't believe how casually she stepped inside, like she had just returned from running errands, not from walking out of our marriage. She didn't seem distraught. She didn't seem guilty. She looked normal. "Hey, Nick," she said, her tone light as if everything was fine. "I needed some space last night. I just needed time to think." I stared at her, feeling the words catch in my throat. How could she act like this? After everything? Like I hadn't just watched her betray me? My eyes burned, and I fought to keep my voice steady. "You needed space?" I repeated, my voice coming out sharper than I intended. "Space? Is that really all this is to you? Space?" She rolled her eyes, a soft sigh escaping her lips as she set her purse down. "Don't start with me, Nick. You know how I am. You always blow things out of proportion. I needed time to clear my head." "Clear your head!" I stepped toward her, feeling the rage surge again. But this time, it was different. It wasn't blind fury. It was cold, calculated, and painful. "This isn't about space, Jessica. This is about you lying to me, sneaking around behind my back with Marcus." Jessica frowned, a defensive look spreading across her face. "I told you, nothing happened. You're overreacting." She paused, then added with a dismissive laugh, "I needed someone who listens, Nick. Someone who understands me." My blood boiled. "So, you think Marcus understands you better than I do?" I spat the words out, my hands clenched at my sides. "You've been sneaking around with him for weeks, and you think I'm the problem?" She stepped closer to me, her expression hardening. "I never asked you to fix my problems, Nick. You're so controlling. You're always on me, always trying to tell me what to do, what to feel. You've been so boring lately, it's suffocating." I staggered back a step, like she'd slapped me. Boring? Boring was the word she used to describe me. All I'd done was work hard. All I'd done was try to build a life for us, to give her everything she wanted. And this is how she saw me? Controlling? I repeated, shaking my head. "So that's what this is about? You needed someone who listens? You needed someone else to make you feel alive? Because I wasn't enough?" Jessica didn't respond immediately. She bit her lip, looking away for a moment. When she met my eyes again, the hurt in her expression was gone, replaced by something colder. "You're just so boring, Nick. Always working, always planning everything. I need someone spontaneous, someone who gets me. You never did." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. All these years, all the sacrifices I'd made, and this was what she thought? That I wasn't enough for her? I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to hold myself together. "So what now? You want to leave with Marcus?" Her gaze flickered, but she didn't answer. She just shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe." I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "Then I'll say it again. If you leave with him, you're never coming back. Don't bother. I waved my hand around the room. "This is over." Her face twisted, and for the first time since she walked in, I saw real emotion in her eyes. "You can't just control me like that, Nick. I'm not your property." She stepped back, crossing her arms. "I'm done. You really want to end this over some stupid drama? Fine. I'm done." I watched her, my heart sinking. There was no remorse in her eyes, no regret, just anger and frustration, like she was mad at me for calling her out. "Go ahead," I said, my voice steady but cold. "Leave. But you're not coming back, Jessica. This is over." She turned on her heel, not even sparing me another glance. And just like that, she was gone again. I stood there, my mind a whirlwind of thoughts, my heart racing in my chest. She had walked out, just like that. No fight, no real argument, just a dismissal of everything we'd built. And somewhere deep inside, I knew it was for the best. The house felt quieter than usual that night, an eerie calm hanging in the air. After Jessica had walked out with Marcus, I didn't know what to do with myself. It felt like everything I had known, everything I had built, was crumbling down around me. The anger that had fueled my confrontation was still there, but now all I felt was exhaustion and disbelief. I couldn't focus on anything. My mind kept looping back to Marcus's face, to Jessica's cold dismissal of everything I had tried to give her. Every moment, every word felt like a betrayal. My body ached, but my mind was relentless, picking apart every detail of what had happened and what was still to come. I grabbed the stack of paperwork from the side of the desk and spread it out across the living room table. Bank statements, receipts, text messages, emails, evidence of every lie Jessica had told. I needed to see it all laid out, to process it, to understand what had happened to us, to me. The more I looked at it, the more it hit me. This wasn't just a mistake. This was a well-crafted lie. Jessica and Marcus had planned this. They had schemed behind my back, and I had been too blind to see it. The emails between them were damning, filled with affectionate language, inside jokes, and plans to meet up, to keep things on the down low. The trust I had placed in her was a joke. She had manipulated me into thinking everything was fine when, in reality, she had been building something with Marcus. The anger flared again, hotter this time, but I shoved it down. This wasn't about him anymore. This was about me, about taking control back from her, from this situation. I was done being the fool. I grabbed my phone and dialed Erica, the lawyer I had contacted a few months ago. My finger hovered over the number before I pressed dial. I wasn't going to waste any more time. "Erica, it's Nick," I said when she picked up. My voice was steady, but underneath it I could feel the cold resolve settling in. "I need your help. I want to start the divorce process." There was a pause on the other end, and then she spoke, her voice cool and professional. "Of course. Let's get started. Do you have the documentation?" "I have everything," I said, feeling the weight of it all. "I'll send it over tonight." We went over the details of the divorce process, and as we talked, I started to feel something I hadn't felt in days: control. It wasn't just about ending a marriage anymore. It was about reclaiming my life, my dignity. It was about making sure Jessica couldn't walk away unscathed, untouched by the mess she'd made. After I ended the call with Erica, I felt a small flicker of something else: empowerment. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I was doing something for myself. I wasn't just reacting to her lies, I was acting. I was fighting back. I grabbed my phone again, dialing Brian's number. Brian had been my best friend for years, always there when I needed him, always offering a listening ear. I needed him now more than ever. "Brian, hey," I said when he picked up. "I need to talk. Can we meet up?" "Of course, man," he replied. "I'm here. What's going on?" I didn't sugarcoat it. I told him everything. What I'd walked in on, what I'd found, how deep the betrayal went. His silence on the other end was all the confirmation I needed. He was processing it too, and I could hear the frustration in his voice when he finally spoke. "She's been treating you like crap for years, man," he said, his tone sharp. "You deserve better than this." I could feel the weight lifting off me, just a little. I wasn't alone in this. Brian had always been there for me, and now, more than ever, I needed that. As the night stretched on, I started gathering physical evidence. I took screenshots of text messages between Jessica and Marcus, took photos of receipts for the money I had spent on things she never appreciated. I had to make sure everything was documented just in case. By the time the night ended, I felt like I had made some progress. The chaos of the last 24 hours was still fresh in my mind, but now I had something tangible. I was no longer just sitting by, reacting to her actions. I was taking control of my future, and that felt like a win. I sat back, looking at the pile of evidence in front of me. For the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't the victim. I wasn't helpless. I was in charge now. This was just the beginning, but it was the start of something new. Something that didn't involve Jessica, didn't involve Marcus. It was mine, and I wasn't going to let anyone take it from me. Jessica walked through the door a few hours later, as if nothing had happened. She took off her coat, tossed it over the chair, and went straight to the kitchen, opening the fridge without a care in the world. The casualness of it all made my stomach twist. How could she be so unaffected? I was sitting on the couch, watching her, trying to keep my cool. I had already made up my mind. The divorce was happening. There was no going back after what had happened. She turned to me, like nothing had changed. You want something to eat? She asked, her voice too light, too normal. I was thinking of making something for us. I didn't even blink. You don't get to act like everything's fine, I said, my voice calm but sharp. You can't just walk in here after what happened last night and pretend we're still the same. Her expression shifted, but it wasn't guilt. It wasn't even regret. Just irritation, like I was the one making things difficult. Stop being so dramatic, Nick, she said, brushing a lock of hair from her face. I needed some space. I just needed time to think. I felt the familiar anger rising in me again, but I fought to keep it under control. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me. Time to think, or time to make excuses for your actions? Jessica sighed, crossing her arms. Here we go again, she muttered under her breath, clearly frustrated. Nick, I told you, I needed someone to talk to. Marcus listens. You don't. Something in me snapped. So that's what this is about? You needed someone to listen to you, so you went behind my back with Marcus? My voice was rising now, but I didn't care. You think this is my fault? That I'm the one who's been neglecting you? You've been sneaking around lying to me, and now you're playing the victim? She shook her head, her eyes narrowing. I'm not the victim here, Nick. You're the one who's always controlling everything. It's suffocating. You don't listen to me. You don't even see me anymore. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. After everything, she was still trying to make me the bad guy. So now I'm the bad guy. I stepped closer, my anger bubbling over. You're the one who's been lying to me, sneaking around behind my back, and I'm the bad guy? You're the one who wanted someone else to listen, someone who actually gets you, right? She flinched at my words, but I didn't care. I had had enough of her manipulation. You're the one who made this choice, Jessica, not me. You chose him over me. Jessica's face twisted with frustration. I didn't choose anyone, Nick. I just needed something different for a while. You've been so boring, so predictable, and now you're acting like this is all my fault. I'm not going to apologize for needing something more. I stared at her, the weight of her words sinking in. You don't get to just walk away from this and pretend nothing happened. If you leave with Marcus, Jessica, don't bother coming back. It's over. Her eyes flashed, and for the first time, I saw real anger in them. You think you can control me like that? Tell me what to do, how to live my life? I'm not your puppet, Nick. I didn't back down. If you leave with him, then that's it. You're done with me. I'm done with you. There was a long, tense silence between us, neither of us willing to look away. Finally, Jessica let out a sharp laugh, bitter and full of scorn. Fine. If that's how it's going to be, then I'm done. And just like that, she turned on her heel and walked out the door, leaving me standing there, feeling every bit of the weight of her words. I didn't know whether I was relieved or angry, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't the same person anymore. This was the end of everything we had built together, and there was no turning back. The divorce process was moving forward, and though it was hard to admit, I was starting to feel a sense of relief. Erica had been thorough, outlining everything I needed to do. She made sure I understood my rights, the steps I needed to take, and how best to approach the next phase. It wasn't just about breaking free from Jessica. It was about reclaiming my life, my dignity. The heavy weight that had sat on my chest for weeks was slowly starting to lift, replaced with determination. But just as I started to breathe again, she showed up at the house, unannounced. Jessica. Her face, once so familiar to me, now felt like a stranger's. She didn't even wait for me to invite her in. She just opened the door and stepped inside, like she still had a claim here. I didn't move, standing in the kitchen with a mug of coffee in my hand, watching her as she moved around like she belonged. Nick, we need to talk, she said, her voice softer than before, almost pleading. I set the coffee down, my fingers lingering on the cup for a moment before I looked at her. What's there to talk about, Jessica? You made your choice. She didn't seem to take the hint, stepping closer. I know I messed up. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, but we should at least talk. You don't just walk away from everything we've built together. Built together? I echoed, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. What did we build, Jessica? Lies? Deceit? You've been lying to me for months, sneaking around behind my back, and now you want to talk? Her expression shifted, guilt flashing across her face, but it was quickly replaced by something else, a kind of desperation. Nick, I need your help. Marcus left me. I'm lost without him. The words hit me like a punch. I had been expecting something, maybe an apology, maybe an excuse, but not this, not the desperation in her voice. "What are you talking about?" I asked, my tone flat. "What do you mean he left you?" I'm just saying, I can't do this alone anymore," she stammered, her hands wringing together. "I need someone to help me. You're the only one I can count on now." Her words were like poison, meant to worm their way into my resolve. But I was done. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me again. "I'm not helping you, Jessica. Not anymore. You don't get to just walk back in and act like I'm the one who's supposed to pick up the pieces of your mess." She stepped closer, tears brimming in her eyes, her voice rising. "Please, Nick, you don't understand." "I don't," I interrupted, holding up a hand to stop her. "I don't care. This is over. You've made it clear, and now I'm done. No more excuses, no more lies." She flinched at my words, but there was something else in her eyes now, a shift from regret to something colder, something darker. "You think you're better than me now, don't you?" She spat, her voice sharp. "You've been so controlling for so long, and now you think you can just cut me off? You think you have the right to decide what happens next?" I stared at her, the anger rising again, but it wasn't directed at her anymore. It was at myself. At the years I had wasted on someone who never really cared, who never saw me for who I was. "You're the one who decided this, Jessica," I said, my voice low and steady. "You're the one who decided you needed someone else. If you leave with Marcus, don't ever come back. This is over." Her eyes narrowed, her lips curling into a sneer. "Fine," she said, the venom in her words thick. "If that's how you want it, then we're done." With that, she turned and walked out of the house, her footsteps heavy on the floor as she left. I didn't chase her. I didn't call after her. I just stood there, frozen in place, the weight of it all settling over me like a shroud. It was finally over. But even as I stood there, feeling the finality of it, there was a part of me that still felt empty. Something in me ached at the thought of everything we had lost, everything she had taken. But I knew deep down that this was the only way forward, and in that moment, I made a silent promise to myself. I would rebuild, for me, for my future, for my dignity. I was done letting her control my life. The morning after Jessica walked out, everything felt different. The air in the house was still heavy, but there was a quietness now. No more pretending, no more lies. It was just me, and I had to face the truth. But then, there was Liam. When Jessica had revealed the truth about Liam being my son, not Marcus's, everything inside me shifted. At first, I didn't know how to process it. The shock was overwhelming. I had spent years believing that Liam wasn't mine, that he was Marcus's child. The anger and disbelief surged, but then a new feeling started to emerge, one I hadn't expected. Responsibility. Despite everything Jessica had done, the betrayal, the lies, there was one thing that was undeniable now. Liam was my son, and he needed me. I was no longer focused on the mess of my relationship with Jessica. I had to be a father. The first time I spent alone with Liam, it was awkward. He seemed just as unsure as I was, but there was a quiet understanding between us. He didn't need to hear me speak. He needed me to be present, to be stable. To show him that, despite everything that had happened, he was important to me. We sat in the living room, a game of Monopoly between us. He shuffled the pieces, clearly unsure of how to approach the game. His nervous glances kept darting at me, searching for reassurance. I didn't know what to say. "You want to be the car or the dog?" I asked, pointing at the game pieces. Liam hesitated before choosing the car. "The car," he said quietly. "It's fast." I smiled. It was small moments like this that mattered now. This was about him, not about Jessica and what she had done. I wasn't going to let her mistakes affect Liam's future, not if I could help it. As we played, I felt a sense of calm that I hadn't felt in a long time. The house, which once felt like a prison, began to feel like a home again. Not because Jessica wasn't here, but because I was finally doing what mattered, being the father Liam needed. Jessica's texts and calls continued, but I didn't respond. She sent messages, claiming she wanted to fix things, but I ignored them. She wanted to manipulate me again, to pull me back into her world of lies and excuses. But that wasn't my world anymore. My world was here, with Liam. When she showed up at the house one afternoon, it was a reminder of everything I had worked to leave behind. I answered the door, but I wasn't going to let her in. Nick, she started, her voice softer than usual, like she was trying to sound vulnerable. Can we talk? I stood in the doorway, blocking her way inside. Number? Not right now. Her face fell. Please, I'm sorry for everything. I know I messed up. But I want us to fix this, for Liam. Don't, I interrupted. Don't use him as a reason to fix us. We're not going back to what we were. We're done. You're done. But Liam, he's my responsibility now. And you're not going to ruin that. Jessica's eyes flickered with something I couldn't quite place. Regret, maybe, but also defensiveness. You can't just shut me out, Nick. I'm not shutting you out, I replied, my voice steady. But I'm protecting him. And you've made it clear that I can't trust you anymore. You can't come in and out of his life like this. Her mouth twisted into something close to anger, but she didn't argue. You're making a mistake, Nick. I'm his mother. You're his mother, I said, but I'm the father now, and I'm not going to let you screw this up. I shut the door before she could say anything else. There was no more room for her in my life. There was no more room for her lies, for the toxic relationship that had suffocated me for years. I didn't want to hold on to resentment. I didn't want to waste my energy on her. I wanted to focus on Liam, on giving him a future that was stable, loving, and full of honesty. As the days passed, I began to see the small changes in myself. I started waking up earlier, taking care of things around the house, things I had neglected for far too long. I even picked up the guitar again, something I hadn't done since before everything with Jessica started. It was a small way of reclaiming the parts of myself I'd lost. Liam and I continued to bond little by little. There were moments of quiet, moments of connection. He wasn't perfect, neither was I. But we were getting there. Together. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was doing the right thing. Not just for me, but for him. Jessica still tried to reach out, still tried to pull me back into her drama. But I didn't let her. I was done. My focus was on Liam, on the life we could build together. I had a long road ahead of me, but now I was determined. I was going to protect him. I was going to give him a better future than the one Jessica had ever given him. As the days went by, I realized the truth. This was my chance to rebuild, not just my life, but his too. The house was quiet again. The kind of quiet that comes after a storm has passed, when the damage is done, but the chaos has settled. I spent the next few days focusing on myself, something I hadn't done in years. The renovations I'd been putting off for months became my therapy. I had to make this house feel like mine again, like I belonged here, like it was a place of peace and stability. The first project I tackled was the living room. I stripped the old furniture, the pieces that had been here since we first moved in, that still held traces of Jessica's influence. I wanted the space to be mine, to reflect who I was becoming, not who I used to be. I painted the walls a deep, warm color, something rich and grounded. I laid down a new rug, something soft and comfortable. I even picked out new furniture, not expensive, just practical, with clean lines and comfort in mind. Every decision felt like reclaiming a piece of myself that had been lost. It wasn't just about the house. I started reaching out to old friends, people I hadn't seen in years, people I had pushed away when I got wrapped up in Jessica's world. Brian, of course, had been a constant presence. He was the one who reminded me that I wasn't alone in this, that I had people who cared about me. His support was a steady presence that gave me the strength to keep moving forward. And then there were the small things I had neglected for so long. I started exercising again, something I had stopped doing when Jessica and I first got together. I took time for myself, picked up hobbies I'd abandoned. I reconnected with parts of myself that had been buried under the weight of a toxic relationship. One afternoon, I was standing in the kitchen, making myself a cup of coffee when I realized something. The house, the life I was building. It felt right. It felt like home again. And I wasn't doing it for anyone else. I was doing it for me. The phone rang, interrupting my thoughts. It was Erica, my lawyer. "Nick, I've got the papers ready," she said. "You're officially on your way to being free." I leaned against the counter, taking in her words. Freedom. That was what this was about. I wasn't just breaking away from Jessica. I was breaking away from the version of myself I had become when I was with her. I was taking control of my life again. "I'm ready," I said, my voice steady. "I'll send everything over for you to sign," she replied. "You've done the hard part. Now, it's just a matter of finalizing everything." I hung up and stood there for a moment, letting it sink in. The divorce was imminent. It was real now. But for the first time in a long time, I wasn't scared of what was to come. I wasn't afraid of being alone. I had rebuilt myself piece by piece, and now I was ready to embrace the next chapter of my life. I started making plans for the future, plans that didn't involve Jessica, plans that didn't involve anyone but me and Liam. The thought of raising him, of giving him a stable, loving environment, filled me with purpose. I wasn't going to make the same mistakes Jessica had made. I was going to be the kind of father he deserved, one who would put him first, no matter what. As the weeks passed, the house continued to transform, just like I did. Every room, every corner felt more like mine, more like a reflection of the man I was becoming. I had finally found the strength to be myself again. And then, when the day came for me to finalize the divorce, there was no hesitation. I signed the papers, the final step in closing the door on that chapter of my life. It felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders, a weight I hadn't even realized I was carrying. With the house and my life newly reconstructed, I was ready for what came next. The future was uncertain, but it was mine. And with Liam by my side, I knew I was finally headed in the right direction. The house was calm now. No more shouting, no more chaos, no more lies. Just the soft sound of Liam playing in the other room, his laughter echoing through the walls. For the first time in what felt like ages, I could breathe. It had been months since the final divorce papers were signed, and life had shifted in ways I never expected. At first, I wasn't sure what to do with the space I now had. It was quiet, too quiet, but it didn't take long before I realized that quiet wasn't something to fear. It was something I could embrace. It was the sound of freedom, of peace. Liam and I had settled into a routine. In the mornings, we made pancakes together, laughing when one or both of us made a mess. He was starting to open up more, a sign that he was adjusting too. The wounds of the past were still there, but they were healing, slowly. We spent afternoons at the park, sometimes running, sometimes sitting on the grass, just talking. His world was becoming a little safer, a little brighter, and that was all that mattered. I kept my boundaries firm with Jessica. Despite her attempts to reconnect, I refused to let her back in, not in the way she wanted. Her texts still came, her calls too, each one more desperate than the last. But I didn't answer them, not anymore. "Hey, Nick," Brian said one afternoon when I met him for coffee. "How's everything going with Liam?" I smiled, the first real smile I had in weeks. "Better, a lot better. He's starting to trust me again." Brian nodded, his expression softening. "Good. You're doing the right thing, man. And you've got a lot of people here for you. I'm proud of you." It felt good to hear those words. I hadn't realized how much I needed them until that moment. As the days passed, the house felt more like home. I put more work into it, finished the renovations I had started, picking out new furniture, redecorating. Each little change was a step toward reclaiming my identity. It wasn't just about the walls or the furniture. It was about me finding myself again. I started taking better care of myself, too. I joined a gym, started eating healthier, and even took up a few hobbies I'd abandoned years ago, like painting. It felt good to rediscover parts of myself that I had forgotten. I had spent so long living in Jessica's world, doing things for her, adjusting myself to fit into a life I didn't even want. Now, I was living for me. Liam flourished under this new routine, and so did I. We were finally able to laugh without feeling the weight of the past holding us down. Even when Jessica tried to insert herself into our lives, I stood firm. I didn't need her manipulation, her lies, her empty promises. What I needed was stability, and I had that with Liam. One afternoon, I sat on the porch, watching Liam play with a soccer ball in the yard. It was a peaceful, ordinary moment, and yet, in that moment, I realized how extraordinary it was. I had created something new, something real, a life where I could finally breathe, where I wasn't drowning in someone else's mess. The betrayal still hurt, but I wasn't consumed by it anymore. The anger had faded, replaced by a quiet acceptance of what had happened. I couldn't change the past, but I could build a future, and that future was with Liam. It was about giving him the love and stability he deserved, something I couldn't have given him in the chaos of my marriage. In time, the house became more than just a place to live. It became a symbol of my growth, my strength. It wasn't just the walls that had been rebuilt. It was me. I was no longer the man I had been in that broken marriage. I was stronger now. I was confident, centered, and most importantly, I was a father. And as Liam kicked the ball past me with a grin, I knew this was my new normal, a life built on peace, respect, and the quiet joy of fatherhood.